What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building for another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody doing this evening? Glad to see everybody piling in the chat. Sorry for the late start. Our guest is working on some audio issues, so he may be in and out, but we'll go ahead and keep this thing moving. I didn't want to keep you guys waiting for too long. We have so much shit to talk about, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with us in the chat. Shout out to you, Stag. Stop giving me shit. We just started the show. I love you, brother. Hope you feel better, man. Take a migraine. Take an Advil. Hopefully that fixes the migraine. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started, man. We'll go ahead and go around the panel while our guest fixes his audio. But we want to go ahead and get this ball rolling, man. But let's start with you, Fuzz, man. We're gonna just keep this thing going. How you been, bro? What you been playing this week, man? How you been feeling, man? There's a lot of shit going on.
Been pretty good. Still excited like it's Christmas Eve for the most part with all the news for the past couple of weeks and stuff. Got more news coming down the pipeline, but man, it's an exciting time. And as far as gaming, been going light for the most part. Just a little bit of Forza here and there, a little bit of GT here and there, and just ready to dive right in. Let's go.
Let's dive in, man. Let's dive right in. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Centurion, man. How you been this week, brother? There's a lot going on. Man, how you been feeling, man?
Oh, my God. This week has been amazing. The internet has been on fire. The Twitter streets have been burning down. Oh, my God. Dude, I didn't think it any better than, man. And then, of course, freaking Microsoft comes in with a death blow. Yeah. The Series X launches here. Blah blah blah. We bought Bethesda, and at that point, stop the presses. Everybody lost their damn mind. It has been amazing. There has been so much amazing stuff. I wish I could make a video on, but as a fraud, well, not a fraud, but I work too damn much. But dude, it has been definitely a fun week to be. Again, let's just say an Xbox fan. For those who stuck it out from the beginning, from day one, and didn't decide to go over to their famous footwear and buy some flip flops. And also, it's really, really fun. Shout out to my boy Downer, who has been out there just completely on one since Microsoft came out and said Bethesda, dude. I mean, like, he has literally been shooting some shots across the way. We'll just say that.
All right. Shout out to Downer, man. That's my guy, man. TXR all the way, man. Appreciate those guys over there, man. Last but not least, man, Game Pass, Dad. I know you had some audio issues, brother. Seem to get things in order, man. Glad to have you here back-to-back week, man. You've been a great addition to the show, man. You've been super fun to have here so far. How you been? What you been playing this week, man?
Dude, it's been fantastic. Like, I was minding my own business on Monday, getting some groceries, and all of a sudden I check my feed and it's like trash talk, getting ready for Series X. Oh, Bethesda, like Centurion brushed over. Like I like rushed through the grocery store and like had to, like, I felt compelled to like go get a podcast done about it because I never expected that to happen. A lot of implications from that I've just been like, I can't believe it feels like this week has been so long, honestly. Like, just with all the news and everything's going on. Like, I did manage to secure the Series X. Not really sure why I bought it, but I just wanted it. And I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty this week for the most part. I've been streaming that. We managed to get a win in Warzone on stream last night, so that's been pretty fun.
All right.
But thanks for having me back.
No problem, man. No problem, man. We got a lot of shit to talk about this week, everybody. Let's keep it going, man. Shout out to J Money in the chat. Shout out to Stag, trolling, lurking in the chat. Got a migraine, but the Twitter fingers is working. But anyway, shout out to you, brother. Appreciate the support. Everybody hanging out with us live. Once again, retweet the link. Hit the like button on your way and let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live today. Let's dive right the fuck in. Shout out to Invader. He just snuck in right now. Shout out to you, brother. So let's start with the poll of the week. Like we do every single week, man. If you follow me on Twitter, you know we do this on Mondays. We talk about the poll of the week on Saturday, man. So the poll of the week this week, obviously, it was related to the biggest news in the last 10 years. So poll of the week was, with the Megaton News Xbox drop by acquiring Zenimax / Bethesda, which studio do you want to see exclusive game from first? The options were Bethesda, second option Arcane Studios, third option ID, fourth option other. So it was a landslide. So Bethesda 61%, ID 25%, Arcane 9%, other 5%. So We're gonna start with you, Game Pass Dad. Now that we all the chips are on the table regarding this deal and that question, you can kind of it's been simmering. You've been sitting on it. Out of those studios, which one would you like to see an exclusive from first?
I mean, I've been probably waiting to see what they're going to do next with Elder Scrolls, because I mean, I played a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online, but it's like I'm ready for like Elder Scrolls 6. Like, I mean, honestly, I've kind of been flip-flopping on whether or not we're going to see an exclusive, but honestly, Bethesda's like my number one answer out of all those studios, because that's the universe or the gaming studio I've spent most of my time with for sure.
Okay, all right. So that was an easy answer. Bethesda, obviously, that fell right in line with the chat, man, and everybody that voted on the actual poll. But that's an easy answer, especially the gigantic games they have coming up to Starfield, the Elder Scrolls. It's pretty simple. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. As I was doing the poll, Bethesda wasn't my initial answer. To be honest with you, it was one of the smallest studios. I actually went with ID Studios or id Studios. Makers of Doom. I went with that because I think they can do some very creative things. They can make the kind of games Xbox don't have right now, or they're lacking. They're just not, obviously the shooters are great, things like that. But I think that just with their pedigree, that engine, we'll talk about that engine later. We'll talk about That's a significant part of what we're talking about. But anyway, let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Centurion. Get your opinion. Out of those options, what would you choose and why? Which one?
Bethesda, just because I'm more in love with the titles that they do.
Oh man, ESO fanatic, by the way. If you guys didn't know, chat, ESO fanatic.
Now, wait a minute. Now that's the funny part, though. But actually, even though ESO carries the Bethesda title, it's actually more of a Zenimax game.
Yeah,
because
I know
because Zenimax handles more of the online services side of it. But Bethesda, like the only thing is though. The reason why it's a Bethesda title is because the guy who cooks up the lore for Elder Scrolls, he's helping them cook up the lore that goes into Elder Scrolls Online, which is why it's been really popular and it's actually stuck with the lore. The guy who's actually in charge of Elder Scrolls Online says that I forget the gentleman's name who writes the lore for Elder Scrolls, but when I've actually heard this guy talk before, and I have to agree with the lead developer, he says this guy could read from the phone book and you would just be enthralled by it. He has a very signature voice. Like when you hear him speak, you're like, oh wow, no wonder he writes Elder Scrolls.
Like Sir David Attenborough, the guy that does all the nature documentary.
Yes, but. Now, when they first came out with this, I will be truthful. I did kind of be one of those guys that would be like, oh my God, Microsoft is not going to buy these guys to lock all this content down. Some of the bigger stuff is going to be an exclusive. I have kind of slowly came down off the hill a little bit, started kind of hearing what other people have to say. And I have to lean more towards what Jez Gordon is saying, that now that Microsoft has xCloud being rolled out and they have more of a market.
Wait, we getting into that later.
Yeah,
we get into that later.
And that's why I just figured I was like with the exclusive things. That's where I was just at first. I was like, "There's no way." But now that I've kind of put some thought into it, I honestly would have to say the first exclusive I would want to see is one of those ones that Bethesda is definitely famous for. Elder Scrolls, Fallout. Man, the list goes on. Before a few years ago, actually, Bethesda was one of my developers for this generation. Call me odd, but this was before all the scandalous stuff that took place with all the cell phone games and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. For a while there, I felt Bethesda was doing quite well. I actually enjoyed Fallout 4. One game they really definitely need to kind of put some, if everybody wanted Fable, then the world will kill for Fallout New Vegas too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Definitely.
I agree.
We got Obsidian too in the mix. So.
Yeah, we'll get in it. We can't jump the. I know we're busting at the seams.
Can the referee stop trying to hold back the match here?
Man, no, I understand. I've been doing the same thing all week. I get it. I understand, fellas, but we gotta take this one thing at a time. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this over to Fuzz. Give Fuzz an opportunity to answer about the poll of the week, man. So, what options did you choose and why, Fuzz?
I went with Arcane because I want to see another Prey I mean, it's underrated.
Okay.
Yes, did it have a little bit of quirkiness to it in the beginning before the launch, and they patched a few things where you could glitch through walls. Sure, but overall, I like the concept of like space horror, and if they do another one that's allowed a lot more leeway as far as development time, and not just add-ons for like quick match type stuff, but have it fleshed out as a ongoing series type of thing from this point forward with that new style. I think that could be a golden gem basically, as far as for like an exclusive title within the Xbox Studios fold.
Okay.
But yeah, Arcane, they also have a good bit of stealth type games when it comes to like Dishonored and Dishonored 2 and stuff. So but I still want Prey. I want a new Prey, expand on it, go from there. Dishonored 2 would be nice, or Dishonored 3 I should say would be nice as well, but definitely Prey, like a Prey 2 type of thing.
Okay. All right. I'm with you on that one. And another one, and we'll get into this, Fuzz. Very underrated, Tango Gameworks. So that's my. We talked about them getting the
What
Japanese
game?
studio. That is that no the studio they got out of this acquisition. The people that are making what is the Japanese game?
Oh, Ghostwire, and then they
Ghostwire.
did Evil Within.
They did Evil
One and
Oh
two.
yeah.
It's headed by I believe it's a Japanese studio, right?
Yes.
I believe So we talked about them getting a Japanese studio. I mean, it's in a horror genre. I can't remember the exactly the head of the studio. He's extremely like famous in that particular genre. So they got a lot going on there. But we'll go ahead and just keep this thing moving, man. Once again, shout out to everybody in the chat watching. Retweet that link. Let everybody know we're watching live. Let's pack this thing out. Let's get the chat going. We appreciate you, Stag, in the chat lurking again. Shout out to you, brother, for hanging out with us live here, man. But let's keep this thing going. So, obviously, we all know why we're here, people. We all know why we're here. There was a bomb dropped on Monday. All right, now it's 2020. Let me not say that too loud. There was something big happened on Monday. All right, we all know why we're here. All right, so get your seatbelt, sit down. We all know why we're here. So obviously, if you've been living under a rock, you don't know. Xbox went out, bought Zenimax, parent company of Bethesda. It's done. I mean, the deal is not officially done. It won't be done until the second half of next year, but shit's pretty much done. The ink is pretty much dry. They just got to button up some things. What are we thinking after being able to marinate on this information the last like week, essentially 4 or 5 days? We've been sitting on this info. So we're going to start with you, Game Pass Dad. I know you were going crazy. What happened? What were you doing when it happened?
Well, basically, I had just dropped my daughter off at daycare, and Mondays are like the day that I do all this stuff for the week. And I was at the grocery store, and I think it was on Twitter, or I was on Reddit, and all of a sudden I saw the news, and immediately I was just like blown away by that when I realized it wasn't just like one studio, but like everything, you know. So I was sitting there like trying to think about it, like sitting there reading all the tweets, like just put it out there, and I like while I'm trying to process this throughout the week, I'm just like at first I'm like, no, there's no way that these are all going to become exclusive, I guess is the way I was thinking about it at first. Yeah. Because I mean, the way I feel about it is number one, it's going to be leverage for sure, because basically it's just such a large studio and like a developer, a publisher, like it just there's so many games that are going to come out of it, and like it makes sense from when you take a step back, but I have no idea anymore like what to expect out of it, because if anything, it's just to sell the cloud eventually. Like I have a hard time articulating it. I kind of went on a mini rant earlier today, but I think they're going to, because at first I'm like, no, they're going to sell it to everybody, but basically Phil Spencer says like anyone who wants to have our games on their platform, we're more than happy to work with them. But I mean, it doesn't seem like Sony is very willing to play nice about it. So I don't think they're going to be able to necessarily count on these games in the future unless they're willing to make a deal. Or it could be a way to leverage Game Pass onto those other platforms, or that's going to be those exclusives that we have been yelled at for years that we never had, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's so many dynamic pieces to what happened. That's the crazy thing about it. Like you said, the implications, that that's the thing. I was watching YouTube the day it happened pretty much all day just to see people's reactions. There was tons of podcasts going on that day. People were going crazy. And that's the word I kept hearing was implications, because this is a ripple effect through the entire industry. This is literally the biggest deal in the last, I don't know, forever. I mean, it's 3 times as big as Minecraft. I mean, the only other deal close to it was Tencent buying, I think, that other company, which is a little bit more, like 8 billion or something. But
right.
other than that, there's nothing even in the ballpark, man. I don't think people understand how big this is. And I understand the big thing coming out of this. The immediate reaction was, are these games going to be exclusive forever, or are they going to go to everything like they've always been? Listen, you don't spend that kind of money to just give everything away. No, I do believe the things that we know about and already have dates for, or even tentative dates for, at this point are still going to be multi-plat. ESO
Right.
things that are already established. I am of the mind, though, that potentially Starfield, maybe even Elder Scrolls 6, games that are so far, we don't even know when we don't even have a year. I think those can still potentially be exclusives for Xbox, PC, things like that. So, I mean, I've thrown this back and forth all week, man. I've been both sides.
Yeah.
People have made arguments for both sides, but it's funny how people get uncomfortable when the shoe is on the other foot. We need to address that. I don't get crazy because I don't do that on the show, but I've seen a lot of very uncomfortable people this week making videos saying a lot of crazy things. This is why I know that what they accomplished was extremely effective. It caught a lot of people off guard. I mean, some people were in the know. Some people knew about it a little sooner than other people. But other than that, it was a meteoric fucking bomb that happened. And I don't think really anybody's seen it coming. So let's go ahead and get this over to you, Centurion. Just your overall opinion. Where are you at? How are you feeling when it happened? Now that you've been able to sit on it, man, and think about it, what are the implications?
Sit on it? What are you talking about? I've been getting cans of gas fueling this fire for a while. Man, when I found out about this, I swear to God, I wished I lived in a frat house because I would have been running around throwing 5-gallon buckets of water on people. Because when I found out, it was freaking 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I literally was calling some friends, waking them up. They're like, why are you calling me? Microsoft just bought Bethesda. And you hear, haha, funny. No, I'm not joking. I sent the link to your phone. Read it. Yeah, like even when I first thought it, I was like, get out. And then when I was like, oh, wow, this is legit. That's insane. Wow, this is mind-blowing right now. Because you just don't. Okay, you guys know I chat with Dealer, or I've chatted with Dealer a lot in the past, and I remember when he was telling people saying that he had a sneaky suspicion that Bethesda was going to get picked up by Microsoft.
Yeah,
and I would have to say kudos to him because he made a very logical, because I got the ability to play with him sometimes, like playing Gears. It was actually fun to hear some of his theories on it, and he made a very sound theory. The guy who owned Bethesda who owned the entire company, was at getting up there in age. So he, you were just waiting for that moment that they were going to put the company up for sale. And no offense to what people want to say, but PlayStation had no business buying a company like Bethesda. Bethesda is a company that embraces PC gaming very heavily, and we can see this through mods in itself. Mods for Skyrim, mods for Fallout on the PC are out of this world. Microsoft has allowed mods on their console just as long as they're deemed safe for the console. PlayStation has not wanted mods of any kind because of their little sacred garden policy. So therefore, mods are really like, if there is any kind of mods whatsoever on the PlayStation side, they're very limited if they're at all. So I just feel like Bethesda Zenimax was a good fit for Microsoft. And also, like the founder of Bethesda said it the best, what Microsoft owns, Sony cannot get.
Yeah, and I was going to reference that as well. I did see that recently.
Yes.
I retweeted that, yeah.
So now that more statements like that have come out and I have really thought about it, Microsoft is going to make a very large push for their services in Game Pass and xCloud. Yes, sorry for everyone that doesn't want to see the industry go this direction. But we got to remember that people, like, I'm 34 years old. There's people older than me that don't want to see this industry go that direction. But when you start getting into the consumer base that's in their 30s all the way down to teen, like the early consumer base, the younger ones, they're in a mindset where they are just fine not owning content.
Right.
And that is just something that we have to accept, the fact that, back in the day, they made cars out of steel. Now there's more plastic in cars than steel. It's the same way with gaming. Back in the day, the only way to bring these kind of experiences into your home was through an actual physical box.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to that point where technology is advanced to where these people that don't have the money for the box, or, I grew up around a parent that didn't really want to buy me game consoles. I bought them all on my own. So therefore, what about somebody who's in that situation? You're giving them away, and they're definitely going to have a very heavy push for these services. And Bethesda is going to be a company that's going to help pave this way. We are already seeing this with Doom Eternal coming to Game Pass. There's already been statements coming out that I've read that says Starfield is coming to Game Pass. All these first-party studio, all these big franchises that we have grown to love are going to potentially come to Game Pass day and date. And for $15 a month, you're going to have access to them. And, I think that's really awesome. Like, this was a big, big win for Microsoft. Kudos to them. Everybody's talking about it. And I really have to laugh at the naysayers that all of a sudden we're like, well, who's really playing Doom? Who's really playing this? Who's really playing that? And it's like, dude, okay, for starters, when people talk about Doom Eternal, they're talking about it in a category of game of the year. Who's playing Elder Scrolls? I am. I've been playing it for years, and I have invested hundreds of dollars into microtransactions. That's why I'm just saying, like these games work, they're successful, and people are playing them. So please quit fooling yourself. I'm sorry, you're just making yourself look like, I'm just going to flat out say, you're making yourself look like a dumbass every time you try to downplay what Microsoft has done.
So this is one of those things that's so self-evident. It speaks for itself. This doesn't need to be, like, we elaborate on this because we do this podcast shit. Like, if you really think about this in totality, I mean, this is huge. Like, it speaks for itself about the way, how serious they're taking. I mean, they got the entire weight of Microsoft behind them. It's funny because this is what, for the most part, people asked them to do all generations since 2013. Hey, flex your muscles, go out, spend the money, invest, do everything you need to do. Show that you're Microsoft, the big boy on the playground. That's what they've done. So a funny thing about this too, before we get into you, Fuzz, before I throw this over to you, man, is all the it's the small things as well about this that matter. One, technology, the tech that comes along with all of these companies. I just talked about that ID tech, that engine. That's first party now. Any of their first party studios can use it. So we talked about that Orion technology that they had for streaming. That's something that a lot of people didn't talk about. Just a lot of tech, a lot of cool stuff that came as long as a package deal with a lot of this. So
now, I want to just finish with what you're talking about. From what I've read, when they bought Bethesda and Zenimax, they bought even the physical property that those companies are using. Mm-hmm. Like, from what it was like a package deal, because a lot of times when you buy a company, sometimes you got to relocate the company because you didn't get the building in the deal. But from what I've read, Microsoft got everything.
Pencil, stapler.
And just to put it out there, just also I'm pretty sure there's people freaking out. I thought about it like, oh my God, it's the end of consoles. It's not the end of consoles, because here's one thing people need to wrap their mind around. Consoles and game streaming go hand in hand. To be able to create the xCloud structure, they are using the technology that they create from the production of consoles to create xCloud. So no matter what, they're always going to have some form of physical hardware production to continue growing xCloud. And as a result of that, Microsoft is probably going to take that said hardware that they produce, and they're also going to find a way to localize it into your home every time, just because they know that there is a strong enough consumer base out there to warrant creating physical hardware.
Bingo.
And that's the whole point of Xbox, is to have a presence in your living room. Like, they want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to be. They as long as they can get you in the ecosystem, that's all they want essentially. But this is huge for a bit of it. This touches everything that they were looking for. This is exactly the kind of move that represents what this company is about going forward. People ask for this. We asked them to do this. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz, so we can go ahead and get moving. But where are you at on this, Fuzz? I know we talked about it a little bit throughout the week. Me and you texting back and forth and the DMs, things like that, man. Where are you at right now at this very moment? Where were you at when you saw the news? What were you doing? What were your first thoughts?
Well, my kids are going to love this. Can we have a moment of silence for the meme Xbox got no games? Can we get an F in the chat for that? I mean, just come on. That meme is dead, gone, and should never, rise again type of deal. But yeah, when they announced that, once again, shout out to Dealer, kind of whisper through the grapevine type of thing. And man, it's amazing how that stayed quiet all that time.
Yeah.
But everything being said, it's like for the longest time, everybody was poking fun at Xbox. It's like, oh, they don't have any exclusives. Where are the exclusives? They need to, if they have all that money, they need to flex their muscle. Why aren't they buying studios of high quality? And it's like, okay. So now they buy the whole farm, like a whole lot of them, just tons of tech, tons of studios, tons of talent. They have it now. And now everybody's like, well, to get their money back, they got to put it elsewhere. It's like, okay, well, $8 million or $7.5 billion out of the $136 billion that they had in liquid assets is like, I won't say it's nothing. It's a hell of a lot more money than we'll all see in our lifetime.
Yeah.
But for the grand scheme of things, it's just a small investment to grow the overall business, and they'll make their money back just like they did with Minecraft. Now the difference is, Minecraft, part of that deal, Notch had it where it had to remain on all systems that it was already available on. So once again, you also get the same thing with Dungeons. It's kind of in the negotiation. Well, I don't think that's in this particular negotiation, but for the most part,
can I give you some food for thought real quick, Fuzzy?
Yeah, what's up?
So, that's what I loved about listening to Jez. He pointed out the most successful game on PlayStation 4. He didn't say which one, sold around 20 million units.
Oh, I had that argument on Twitter earlier. The only game that I've seen that sold that well is Grand Theft Auto 5 on just the PlayStation 4. 20 million units. And everybody's like, well, there's 100 million consoles out there. If they sell, or put like Elder Scrolls on there, they'll get 600, or $6 billion. And I'm like, wait, first of all, no one ever sells to every console. There's no such thing as 100% attach rate. Even Nintendo, that's the kings of attach rate. They're getting somewhere around 25 on their high end. So 25% of your consoles getting stuff out there, that's great. Then you got the 30% cut that Sony gets. And then you have the overall cost of production of physical copies. And then you have the marketing. And then you have the actual cost that it takes to actually produce the game. I would say at this point, Elder Scrolls is the only one that I consider to have an asterisk or a caveat that maybe, but I think as far as it goes, the only other one that may have a caveat to it would be something like Ghostwire, where Ghostwire 2, the only way you see that on PlayStation is if it sells like 10 million copies on PlayStation and only 2 million people buy it or even subscribe and play it on Game Pass. Anything above that or anything less than that, you can pretty much kiss that exclusive that Sony paid for goodbye on a following sequel. But overall, this is exactly what we've been asking for as far as more studios, more AAAs, more exclusives and things like that. And they opened up the checkbook to deliver. Now it's going to be a matter of time when we start seeing, the newer titles or the newer renditions like a Wolfenstein 3 or a Dishonored 3 or maybe even a Rage 3 type of deal and going forward from there. But it's simply amazing. It's, I like the fact that they did this, and now it's like, this is how we win. Let PlayStation make its next move and then see what they put into the mix as far as what they're stepping out and purchasing or what grandiose move they're going to do to make people kind of forget that, or at least attempt to forget that type of thing. So as a consumer, ultimately we win, but man, no one would have really, like, when we were having those, pie in the sky ideas, like, oh,
Yeah.
CD Project Red and Take
Talk about
Two
WB.
Interactive, and
That thing was on the table for a while. We were talking about that. That was a thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I mean, plain and simple, they're now part of Xbox Studios. If they wanted just to add them to Game Pass, they could have did the whole EA move where they have the EA Play in Game Pass and not have to, spend billions of dollars to make that happen. So I'm just beyond enthused and happy now as far as knowing that there's so much more. Like, we already had, what was it, like 19 studios, 18 or 19 studios prior to this type of thing. So it's like it was just
15.
Oh, yeah.
It went from 15 to 23.
Yeah, so having 15 studios prior, we were like, oh yeah, there's going to be probably each studio will have at least one game, maybe a second project or a passion project type of thing. Now we got 8 more studios that have a lot of teams within those same studios and a lot of IPs. So you don't have to really dig into the crates for the old Xbox IPs and have that thrown to a studio and be like, hey, make this, do a Perfect Dark or something like that. Now you have
all the
existing IPs and stuff.
They literally in one fell swoop covered all of the bases that as far as on a game, from a video game standpoint. Now, obviously, maybe some other things, marketing, messaging, they still, may need to work. But ultimately, as far as the things that people talked about, the things that were that just the general media said that they needed, they covered all their bases with one check. It's like, we just go. This was far better. This is a far better deal than that WB deal. And WB was what, like $4 billion? This is far better. And on top of WB deal, the crown jewel of that deal was Batman. You weren't going to get that IP. You weren't going to be able to own that. So this is they own everything from the parking lot all the way to.
Now, can I add on real quick? BTK? Yeah. Can I please? Here's a question for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if a company like Google or Amazon got a hold of them?
Yeah, that's what
like we're over here making demands of Microsoft to not make this exclusive and to not make that exclusive. You're lucky that, Phil Spencer, Kumbaya, this dude is actually wanting to keep content in people's hands and keep it easily accessible. And so if by some chance it doesn't come to PlayStation, at the end of the day, you guys are going to have to start turning your focus towards the people who are in charge of that system, because obviously they have put up walls so high that now the rest of the world is just going to pass them by, regretfully.
Yeah.
And that's where, if Microsoft didn't get this company, someone else was going to get them. And it's really good to see that Microsoft got a hold of them. And we're talking about a company that actually has a pretty decent track record when it comes to at least dealing with development companies.
Right.
And we all hear that, there may be a crunch culture in Microsoft, but it's nowhere near the toxic scale of a lot of other places.
Yeah.
Well, and I was looking at, like, that's exactly what I was looking at earlier today. I had a mini rant on Jez's Twitter feed earlier today about this, but Amazon and Google are the only 2 other companies in the space, and they both have a similar market cap to Microsoft. Like, it's almost exactly the same. All 3, like, we just hit $1 trillion companies. They're all 3 worth $1.5 trillion, and they're all 3 working on cloud gaming right now. Like, if Microsoft didn't, if Microsoft didn't make the buy, like, they're hunting for studios right now, because Amazon needs to build out that content, or else they're going to have a really hard time, like, competing. Because, I mean, I'm looking at the library, and I don't really get exactly how Amazon's works yet, but I mean, it seems like a lot of stuff that you can get other places, or you might have to buy it piecemeal in some places. So I don't think it's necessarily the complete package that Game Pass is, where you have the physical the physical device on your desk. You can game wherever you want. You have literally, it's kind of the last piece that we needed to click into place with that xCloud. It's literally becoming a Netflix for games.
Yeah. And like I said, it covered all the bases. I mean, you talk about from genres to you talk about 2,300 people, you talk about studios, publishers, everything is all in-house, and they own all of it in one fell swoop. So what we're talking about here, this is there's so many moving parts to this deal. We can't even, there's not enough time on the podcast.
Dude, Microsoft just went from creating their own brand new game engine over at 343 with which engine is it?
Slipspace.
Slipspace.
Yeah.
Slipstream. I always thought whatever.
Slippery
Slip
space.
the slippery game engine over at 343. And now they've bought Bethesda tech. Like, honestly, man, I think Microsoft is honestly killing it. I'm excited for them. I wish I could be there just to see some of the new toys.
Yeah.
My inner child literally screamed, "Let's go!"
It was crazy. It was insane, dude. I rolled over and I'm rubbing the crust out of my eyes, and I'm seeing what is going on here, dude. I thought it was just BS at first, but yeah. So let's. So we're still gonna obviously talk about this. This is gonna be something that was gonna continue to come up for pretty much the rest of the show, but we're gonna elaborate on a few other things that happened as well this week. Now, after that happened, obviously there was a ton of questions for Phil, everybody associated, all the higher ups associated with Xbox. Tons of questions about what's going on, what's the future of this acquisition. So they actually talked to Satya Nadella. I believe it was actually Yahoo that spoke with Satya Nadella, and essentially he stated, I mean, they may not be done acquiring studios. In a nutshell, I'm not paraphrasing. I don't have the exact article in front of me.
Yeah.
But essentially, he said they may not be done making acquisitions. So after Monday, hearing that from him, this is the guy who holds the purse strings. Like, he's not. There's nobody above him.
Right.
Like, there's nobody above. He doesn't report to anybody. And so essentially, like, hearing that from him after what they've just done, where are we at with this? So we'll start with you on this one, Fuzz. You know, since we knew you, we'll start with you. Where are we at on that? I mean, obviously, we don't. It may take time for that to happen, but just his mindset is still there. Where are we at on this?
Sega confirmed. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Blue
but
controller.
no. In all honesty, it goes to show that even though they dropped that amount of money, they're still looking for additional studios. They're still looking to invest in this division. Unlike any other time in Xbox's history, I won't say the pocketbook is open, but it pretty much is. I mean, they've shown their business case with going from 10 million subscribers in Game Pass to 15 in like a matter of months type of deal. So if they continue at that arc, especially after the launch of this next generation, then it's easy to get the return on investment. It's easy to spend more into building on that division. So I think, whether they're a larger studio or a smaller studio that's out there and it's, makes a good business case as far as a, certain niche that they may not have covered, or one that may be a little bit on the weaker side. Microsoft is looking, Xbox is looking. They're willing to talk to those devs and bring them under the fold if everything can mesh as far as productivity, the game development and things along those lines. Then yeah, they're far from done making purchases, and that's very very energizing to hear them in that position. So I can't wait to see who's the next on the list as far as to come to Xbox Studios.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time, and this is even better than what we envisioned. This is better than what we talked about.
Yeah.
we were talking like individuals too. They bought a publisher. So listen, I want to frame this for anybody. Like, this is going to wrap up as far as how huge or how colossal this was. When traditionally we have E3. Everybody knows what that is. We have the big three: Nintendo, Xbox, Sony. They each have individual shows, right? They each get hour and a half, however long the individual show is. Then there's four main publishers: Bethesda, Ubi, Square, and EA. They also get their own events. Xbox just bought a whole event. They grab one of the whole events and say, okay, well, you're now like, that's just think about that for a second. Like, these guys, like, it's crazy. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Were you done, Fuzz? I don't want to cut you off.
No, okay. That's all I got to say.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get to you, Game Pass. That just hearing Satya Nadella, where his mind is at as far as acquisitions, this possibly not being it. Where are we at? Where are you at on this? What do you think about that?
I mean, like like they said though, it's like they're looking, they're growing, and I feel like they're very competitive right now for like the same reason what I just mentioned is like no one knew about Amazon, or I mean I didn't hear anything about it.
No,
Like
not at all.
I guess you could see it coming because I mean they're one of the biggest like cloud platforms out there. Like it's Microsoft and it's Amazon, and Google has it too, but I guess I never really hear about Google that much. But I mean that's what makes these companies so valuable. I mean Apple is the other one, and that could be part of the reason why there's the whole issue between like this. I don't it's going to be interesting to see how it all intertwines because I think that Microsoft definitely has to buy because Luna is coming out and it's going to work with Apple devices. So, I mean, that's one of the big advantages they have right there because
Yeah.
the only reason why I'm thinking about switching away from my iPhone is because I'm an Xbox gamer and a Game Pass gamer already, and I'm losing my own value because I can't use xCloud right now. But there's so many reasons for other people to just be like, oh, I can just play this with my iPhone. Let's go with Luna. Like, who cares? So, I mean, I feel like buying more publishers and buying more studios is going to be the way that they can make it so they can, because they don't have to sell consoles anymore. They're going to sell probably 40-50 million consoles at the very least, if not capture those people that have PlayStations just for being a Call of Duty box. Like there's not that many dedicated fans on the PlayStation side that went back in that direction because they wanted to play all the adventure third person story driven games. Like they're playing Call of Duty and Destiny, like, and sports games, FIFA. Like it's not because they're playing Ghost of Tsushima. Like it doesn't sell like that. So I mean, at that point, it's not about selling just the console, it's about selling that service. So this is how they're going to make sure that they have the advantage.
And another thing too, this is one thing we forget about now. As far as Xbox and Microsoft, you know, up there with Amazon, Google, you know, their actual direct competitors, Apple, things like that. The one thing Xbox does have a huge advantage, is that they have a gaming pedigree. They have a pedigree. They have a 20 plus years worth of gaming experience. Amazon
all the way back to like Doom and Flight Simulator.
Exactly. So they have these are why Amazon, Google, and these other companies are choosing to jump in now. It's so hard to make a physical console. It's so difficult to make a physical console and last on the market. Why do you think they waited till cloud gaming was relevant to say, okay, let's try and jump in this gaming thing now? They're not trying to put no $20 billion into a failed console, like an actual hardware.
Well, we got to talk to Atari about that one.
Bro. Yeah. So, anyway, I don't want to go on a rant here or a tangent, but let's go ahead and get this over to you, Centurion. Where you at when you heard, you know, about Satya basically saying they may not be done, they may still be looking to make some acquisition?
Yeah, because the rants and the tangents are my neighborhood.
Yeah, my bad. I'm on your lane over there.
Before I get on to Satya, can I I want to say something what Game Pass Dad said about the whole Apple situation. Luna is not going to be on Apple either, and I'm saying that right now. You know why? I did a whole video on this. Microsoft actually thought that they were going to be on Apple too. So I'm going to shamelessly plug for everybody who ignored this video because it was actually a bomb in my opinion. Barely anybody watched it. I actually showed you in the print of Apple's rules and regulations for developers. Because it's a streaming platform and the game is not physically downloaded to a device that you own, it violates the terms and agreements of every Apple rule. So therefore, if they allow Amazon to go on onto the market, and they actually have the same structure that Microsoft does, they're actually going to open themselves up for a class action lawsuit with Microsoft. And they're already being freaking investigated for 2 counts of antitrust violations in the European Union. And they're also in a lot of hot water here. So I am actually going to put my money down on that. Amazon is already sticking their foot in their mouth, and that they're going to find out when they go to try to put their stuff on Apple, it's going to get kicked out because there is numerous rules that would have to be changed in Apple's terms and agreements that would basically to allow something like Luna on there. And if they allow Amazon to do it, then they open themselves up into a discrimination thing because you can't discriminate from one company to the next.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the website right now and they're advertising Apple devices.
Well, the reason why they're doing it is because it's going to be through the browser. It's kind of a weird workaround, and I don't know what the lag is going to be. It won't be in the App Store. If you have Safari on your phone or Chrome or whatever browser you're using on your phone or Mac, it'll be through the browser. So
we all know how Apple gets about workarounds. Okay. like we all saw what happened with Epic Games and their workaround. Yeah,
their workaround was a little more, I guess, stupid.
In your face.
Well, I mean, we also saw what happened to Amazon and their first party studios. Like that game got unreleased. Like they drew it back. So I mean,
I'll just say they found a workaround on it. Kudos to them. But let's just say a lot of companies would be taking a very close look at this workaround, and then all of a sudden everybody's doing it, and then because the whole point is Apple wants to make 30% of everything that goes onto that device. 30%.
Yeah.
And Phil said it wasn't a monetary issue though either, because they're trying to take him to task on CNBC, and he's like, that's not the problem. It's like the terms and conditions, like you said. So I guess it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I mean, honestly, if something doesn't change, like Apple's going to lose my business. Like I want a game.
So anyways, that was I wasn't trying to take the show off track. Sorry, PTK.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I appreciate you. You the info. You the Wikipedia, man. Come on now. But
what Satya said, I want to just say Satya Nadella, Lord Master and Commander Satya Nadella, and Phil Dominus Spencer Aurelius Maximus, however you want to say it. Them guys went shopping. They put it in the bag. Definitely. This is the first time we are seeing the upper echelon of Microsoft executives actually embrace gaming.
Yeah.
During the Xbox 360 era, even though Don Matrix had a lot of fun, like let's just put it this way, Don Matrix had to be that way just to appease the executives at Microsoft at the time, to basically just kind of keep the idea around that the Xbox 360 could generate revenue, and then the Xbox One launch was a flop. Don Matrix loses his job, and pretty much at that point, a lot of people left, and Phil Spencer had to kind of save the brand. And I think he's done an amazing job, in my opinion, and I think it's really cool that Satya has come out and said that I just think this leaves it open to where if the right situation occurs, you can buy it up. Like really, like whoever says like, I'm sorry, but if I had money in my pocket right now, I would keep my eyes open for any kind of business I could get myself into. I'd grow it, and then I'd buy a different business, because right now it's kind of like a lot of people are finding out you just can't put all your eggs in one basket, and that's what kind of created this situation. We've gone to having barely any development studios to 23 development studios. So that means no matter what, there's going to be content, and Microsoft is always going to keep their eyes open for the next big thing. I'm pretty sure right now somebody is shooting someone a text at Bungie, because I've always made the joke because, the joke was when they were trying to get Double Fine, I think it was Matt Booty, when he was telling the story, the gentleman at Double Fine, they would text each other in the morning, and Matt Booty was like, yeah, I'd have like a number written in whipped cream on top of my pancakes. Basically, the number was how much money they were offering to buy the damn studio. So I'm pretty sure there's text messages that occur like that every single day going to other studios. It's phishing.
Yeah, crazy. It's insane. Just to think, like you said, the big takeaway from this particular article and this news is that and we said it as soon as Phil was put in a position that he was, and then elevated once again to the big boys table, we said, okay, something's happening. Satya is behind them, because we've seen this in the past over the last probably 4 to 5 years. As they started to turn things around, Satya started to be more vocal about the brand. He started to come out, start talking about the brand more to the media, start talking about we're proud of it, it's doing big things, we're investing in it. And this is the direct result of that. So you see him coming out saying something like that is exactly what everybody's been asking for. It's nothing but good. There's really nothing. I don't even fuck how you slice it. There's no bad news.
Am I wrong in saying that? I remember back in the day when we talked about Microsoft executives, we were talking about grumpy old men.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no,
now we're
they
talking
were
about
paper
people
pushers.
like
They
Phil
were numbers
Spencer
guys.
and
A lot of
Satya.
them, yeah, a lot of them were numbers guys, like Phil Harrison. All those guys, they were number business guys. They weren't gamers. So Phil,
That-
Satya is open. He changed the whole entire culture at Microsoft. Like
Yeah.
he turned Microsoft into like Google Light, like as far as
Right.
and then as far as the gaming, he embraced the entire division, put Phil in charge. He's done everything. Like, yeah, I mean, you can credit him just as much as you credit Phil, because I mean,
That's what I was gonna say. Is he's turned the whole company around.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. That's one of the reasons why I feel comfortable being an Xbox gamer. Is it goes way beyond Xbox and all this other stuff, the games, the exclusives. It makes me feel happy to see the executives of a $1 trillion company on social media interacting with fans, showing up on podcasts with people who have less than 10,000 followers. I mean, the executives at Microsoft are very friendly. They're actually engaged in the public. And over on the other side, I mean, like it's like this walled off castle, and you never see anybody. It's tumbleweeds constantly.
And before we move on to this last topic, I want to give a huge shout out. Okay, this is a part of Xbox that has been drugged through the mud the most this generation. Their marketing has been so good and so clever to start this generation. They've done a fantastic job getting ahead of bad information, turning fucking lemons into lemonade, like embracing goofy shit, like people making fun of them, like being open and transparent. That's been pretty much the worst part of Xbox, has been the messaging, the marketing. They've done a fantastic job. So I don't know if they put somebody. I believe they got a new. I believe, I can't remember the girl's name or the woman's name. I believe they elevated her or got her from another company. I think it's like Cindy or something. Cindy something. She's a head of marketing. But anyway, shout out to everybody, the marketing team at Xbox. You guys have done a phenomenal job. But let's go ahead and move on to the last topic. We're gonna go a little bit over today. All right. So let's get to just the storage situation, okay? And we got some prices. Well, we got some prices from Xbox. So some prices were, I won't say leaked, but essentially dropped from the Seagate, the expansion, and they're about $220. So this is something we talked about. We talked about next gen storage. How expensive is it going to be? Obviously, we don't know Sony's option, but if you do a quick Google search, they're going to be right around the same ballpark as far as storage. So, where is everybody after they heard that, the price and, going forward, what are your options? So we'll start with you on this one, Game Pass. That when you heard about the price, was that in your range? Were you already kind of thinking that much, or kind of where you at regarding that now?
Yeah, I mean, when we take a look at this, it's a new technology. Like, I mean, SSDs for PCs, like they've been smaller and more expensive. So, I mean, this is kind of bringing it to a mass production level. So, I mean, my first thought was that it was probably going to be at least $150 to $200. So, I don't feel like it's completely out of the question. I mean, I would prefer to see like a 2 terabyte hard drive inside the consoles by default, or maybe even like we'll see maybe a hybrid version down the road or something like that. But for my personal situation, I do still have my external drive, which I can shuffle around games so I don't have to use up my data. But I mean, I feel like it's to be expected that it's going to cost more, but I don't think I necessarily need it right away.
I was thinking that too, and I'll bring that. I'll piggyback off of that when you're done.
Yeah, because I mean the thing is though, it's like at the very least, like the thing is Microsoft's been very transparent with what it is that you're actually buying when you placed on that pre-order. Like I was able to secure my pre-order on Monday or Tuesday, but it's like I know what I'm going to buy and I know what my options are to expand it or how to manage my downloads. Like I think I'm probably going to have to buy unlimited data with the new normal here, but it's to be expected. And I mean, comparatively to what like the competition right now, it's like the only thing we know about Sony's option is that it's fast and there will be options, but it's fast. So yeah, buy our consoles. But I mean, enough shade there. I mean, it's going to come down over time, and there'll probably be other options aside from the proprietary. So I mean, it doesn't upset me. Like if I decide to get one, then I'll have to bite the bullet and probably buy one when it drops down to 150 or 100 or something.
So there's a couple perspectives you can look at this Game Pass. There's a couple perspectives we can look at this from perspective of, did Xbox solve a problem, solve an issue before it started, or did they think for the consumer? Because there's two sides of this. So when you look at the storage options, I look at it from a standpoint they solved the issue before it became a problem.
Yeah,
They gave a solution to an issue. They gave us an answer to a question we were all going to inevitably ask.
that's a lot of space too.
No, it's a lot of it's a lot of storage space, and it's convenient as hell. I know people
Right.
make fun, like they said, a memory card. This reminds them of PlayStation 1, things like that. But it's a guaranteed solution. You buy this card, you're gonna have storage. It's gonna work. You're gonna run all your games on it. It's a bit expensive now, but here's why it is expensive: because you're taking advantage of 100% of the hardware and tech that we put inside of these consoles.
Right.
Now, obviously, this tech is going to come down over time, but we'll get into particulars. Let's get over to you, Fuzz. Just on what do you think about the price? Where you at on it, man?
Kind of expected it to be around that price. I mean, I was hoping it would be closer to 150, but I knew it was going to be in the 200 plus range. This holiday, if there's not like any major sales, which they probably won't be. I mean, I know some people had like points at Best Buy, so you can save like 10% or something like that. So if you already have some sort of savings through whatever store, whether it be points over at, GameStop or points over at Best Buy, go ahead and pick it up then, or at least wait closer to Black Friday, see if the price drops with like a 5 or 10% break. Or they'll eventually, I'm pretty sure they'll find a way to bundle them in, and then the average price will probably, drop it down to about 180 or so. But this holiday, I don't think I'm going to need it. I mean, the way I have my Xbox One X set up, I already have 5 games on the hard drive. That one's at 1 terabyte. And these are pretty decent sized games, although one of them being Anthem. But for the most part, I could just, from get-go, I was kind of under the impression I'd wind up keeping my 8 terabyte drive, store games there, keep my 3 to 5 go-to games that I'm going to be playing the most that are next generation games.
Right.
Keep those on the internal, and then change them out after I beat them or something like that. Like for the most part, a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that'll probably be on the hard drive. On the internal. Cyberpunk is probably going to be on the external until there is a upgrade to like the next gen graphics or the next gen ray tracing and all that stuff, which I think is going to be after probably the first of the year. So in the meantime, it'll be on the 8 terabyte drive as opposed on the internal. But that's kind of where I expected things to be. At least we already kind of had an idea of what things were going to be like with the Xbox. I'm still waiting on confirmation or at least more details on the PS5. I know they have their 825 gigabyte drive. I don't think, some people have said that that's on the board. So if that's on the board and then you have the ability to add another NVMe drive that's a PCI 4, then so be it. But it's still going to be in the 200 plus range for a terabyte. So either way you look at it, as long as I don't have to tear the whole console down whenever I do finally get one on pre-order or get one, it is what it is. As time goes by this time next year, these things will be 150 or they'll still be 200, but it'll be closer to 2 terabyte or something like that. So it may be 250 for 2 terabyte.
That's the benefit of technology. It moves pretty quickly as far as pricing. Things like this go pretty quickly. So okay. So let's throw this over to you, Centurion man, to wrap the show up. We're gonna end it with you, brother. As far as the storage, what'd you think about the price? What's your solution essentially going forward?
Oh my gosh, man. When I saw the price of these, I was a little bit taken back purely because I thought Microsoft would want, because I understand they were trying to go for that $299 price point for the Series S to make it very economic. But this whole memory issue, you see, the only thing is I hate to use the word casual, but just the normal consumer that normally plays games doesn't really understand the tech or the reasons why you should care. All they see is storage space. And that's where, man, it definitely stinks that it's 220, because I was just looking at an SSD for my Xbox just the other day. I want to get a 1 terabyte SSD I want a Samsung one. They wanted like $139 for it, and that's on sale. So that's where I see these 220 now, but I see in the future them kind of being on sale for a Black Friday price of probably around $159.99. Probably go on sale for 200, 190, something like that. I could see them going on sale to kind of help offset some of the cost. But there's definitely advantages to having these drives. The whole reason why I was looking at getting another SSD for my Xbox is I had to use the SSD that I used to use on it for something else, work related, and now I'm wanting it back because I've actually noticed a big difference, especially when it comes to playing online games. That there's a lot more drop in frames. It lags a lot. I just really do wish I had a faster exchange of information. And that's where I actually have had the gears turning. Is 220 too much to ask for these drives? Because I want to get one, that's for sure. I mean, I know the benefits of having a faster drive.
So the thing I think where I'm at, I'm right with Game Pass Dad and Fuzz on this one. I just don't think people are gonna need it right away. Like
Not right away, no.
Yeah, I think for the most part, by the time you get it, because I mean, there's still other storage options. You can still use your standard drive, swap the games back and move them back and forth. It's a bit tedious, but it is another option until the prices come down. So it's not mandatory. And on top of that, the biggest benefit that we're getting obviously are going to be the games that are made specifically for Series X, and we don't have a lot of those right now that are going to be taken advantage.
Yeah. So anything that uses velocity architecture needs to be on there for sure. Any game that is loaded directly onto the internal hard drive or one of the Seagate drives will see a boost in performance, frames per second, stuff like that, loading times. But the funny part is a lot of those games you could almost get a pretty close to same boost in performance. Because the funny part is backwards compatibility. If you play certain 360 games now, they actually load instantly. I mean, you see them get ready to start the loading screen, and the loading screen never occurs because it just loaded it faster than originally possible during the 360. And that's the fun. I think that's what we're going to see, at least in the beginning, is that we're not going to need these cards right away. And I really hope it does drive prices down. SSDs are great things, especially when you play online.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I 100% agree with it. And I think across the board, I think this was more. I think we more so expected the price to be a bit high, maybe not quite as high, but I think overall, as
would be the cutoff. Did you think 200 would be the cutoff?
Well, you know what the funny thing is? I think me and him talked about this, and I said I think I was like 150 in that range, I believe. I don't know, Fuzz. We talked about this a bit. I think you were more close to 200. I think.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be like 199, and then we would see like maybe a price break around the holidays, for like 179-ish range, just to kind of get them moving. But overall, the retail would be 199. That extra $20, I guess it's more of just the visual aspect of seeing that extra 20 that kind of breaks it a little bit. But yeah, I kind of knew after buying the 512 PCI 3 NVMe drives for my kids' desktop or gaming PCs that these things are going to be up there. Like you can get some decent ones for a good bit cheaper, like a 512. I think now you can get some of them for around $50 to $60 if you go with like a non-name brand, if you want to go that route. But yeah, it's still for good ones. They're 80 plus, 90 plus for 512. If you're looking for, more gigs per second type of thing as far as transfer rate and stuff like that. So, but it'll come down. Like this time next year, we'll be like, oh wow, these things are under 150. Oh, but the 2 gig or the 2 terabyte ones are like 250. Ugh. So that'll be the argument next year.
I read some of these games you could play during the transfer between the external to the internal.
True.
You just wouldn't have the assets for you just wouldn't have any assets or anything for the I guess, the velocity architecture until the game was finished downloading and restarted. I don't know exactly how that'd work.
I wouldn't even bother trying to play until it was done. I mean, who wants to do
Well,
that?
wait a minute, you could have 5 games suspended. No,
That's
Yeah.
true. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna take full advantage. I'm not the guy who has 20 tabs open on his computer, so I don't know. Either way, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up, fellas. Man, it's been a phenomenal show, man. This is the tip of the iceberg. We could have did easily another hour, but we'll get to this. We'll talk about this throughout the week, man. We have another show next week, and I just want to say thank everybody for coming out watching live. You guys are fucking awesome. I see you, Chris, lurking in here late, man. I see you here. Anyway, either way, man, let's go ahead and just let everybody around the panel talk, man. First things first, like I said, everybody come out, watch this live. You guys are fucking amazing. Hit the like button your way out. Subscribe to the channel. You guys are fucking awesome. So let's start with you, Game Pass Dad, man. We did it back to back, man. Back to back weeks on the show, man. I greatly appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah.
We had to get to it, man. We had to talk about this, but great time having you on, man. Let everybody know where they can find you, everything you got going on, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. Sorry about the sound issues. And Chris is probably acting like this Bethesda deal is like his best friend just died. So hopefully it didn't hurt him too much. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Game Pass Dad or on Twitch at Comedy Bob right now, which is going to be rebranded to Game Pass Dad. But I'll be streaming later tonight here about 10:30 if you guys want to come hang out. But thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Always a good time.
Not a problem. Once again, everybody, go check him out as well. All of the links to his Twitch, YouTube, all of that good stuff is below, man. His Twitter account, go check him out, man. Phenomenal guy, great talent, man. Does great content, obviously. Please, if you're a fan here, please go check him out. Do me that favor. And it will not be the last time you guys see him on the show for sure. Like I said, the door is always open. So let me know, Game Pass, whenever you got some free time, man. You're always welcome here, man.
For sure, brother.
Not a problem. No problem, brother. Shout out to Stag as well, man. Lurking in the chat, man. Shout out to you, bro. Holding it down in the Chizat for us. And let's throw this over to you, Centurion, man. Let everybody know what's going on with you, man. And where they can find you at, brother.
Oh, well, you can find me on Xbox Live, Twitter, and, of course, on YouTube at Centurion1307. You can also find me kicking it right here every Saturday night with these fine gentlemen on the Shop Podcast. I also am on the TXR podcast every Sunday night. And, man, definitely got to get some content cranking out. There is a lot of stuff to talk about.
It's a lot.
A lot of people to poke jabs at, but I don't want to be that guy.
We're going to keep it clean for the rest.
No, you know what? Me and Stag actually have to do some Anthem streaming, too. Like, I've seen Centurion 1307, but I'll play some Anthem.
Nice. Nice. We can dive into some Anthem. We already know.
What do you think? Like, how about this ultimate test? Everybody, when we get our Series X's, unbox them. We all need to slap a copy of Anthem in there and test this architecture on some real, true loading screens.
But load Anthem, man. The Series X architecture is real.
Dude, remember back in the day when everybody had that, like when they had a system in their car and you always had that one guy that had that CD? It was like, no, there's a base test on here. Now we're going to have the loading screen test with the Anthem.
Nice. So let's throw this over to you. Shout out to you, Centurion, man, for hanging out with us every single week, man. Huge part of the show, man. Love having you here, man. Last but not least, Mr. ASMR, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, Mr. Smooth Voice, man. Let everybody know what's going on with you, where they can find you, brother.
You can find me on Twitter, PSN, or Xbox Live. Fuzzy_Belvedere, Fuzzy Space Belvedere, or Fuzzy Belvedere altogether, like it is on Instagram. Man, awesome time with all you guys. Thanks for joining us again, Game Pass Dad. Man, the exciting times are from here on out, man. Can't wait. Thanks again. Awesome as always being here.
Awesome, man. So appreciate you, Fuzz, every single week, man. You always hanging out with us, man. Providing the smooth, velvety voice of the show to close things out, man. It's like baby milk, man. Appreciate you. But anyway, last but not least, your boy PTK Blam across the board, man. Hang out with me here live, man. Hang out with me on Twitter. Hit me up there. Keep tap in with us. Let us know what's going on with you guys on Twitter, man. Follow me on Xbox Live if you want to play some games. Hit me up there. I appreciate the love and support you guys bring to the show every single week. I thank you so much for that, man. We're going to wrap things up, but next week, same time, same place. More fun news, man. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We are out of here, everybody. Peace out.
Later.